sequencing emotion in delicate formation. Numerology's wisdom is a language of vibration. Welcome to the Numerology Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a numerologist, psychic medium, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's working with spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, precision and heart always enters the equation. Now, your host of the Numerology Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Numerology Hour on WLTKDB. I'm Kelly Brickle, and we are going to be talking about all things numerology today. The show is designed for your questions to be asked and also learning to be had on the subject because a lot of it is not talked about. It's basically up on a website somewhere if you click it into Google and you read descriptions, but really it's just so much more than that. It's about learning about descriptions and seeing how things apply. And it's really important to have formats where you can look at things from different angles, perspectives, look at different people who have that number, and just like feel for your own self when you finally are able to understand what that number is for you, to hear the descriptions and see how other people react to it too. It's just basically you need a format with the back and forth so your mind can understand it on a deeper level. So hello. Welcome Tina, welcome KJ. So today we're going to be talking about the soul number. The soul number is one of, I think, the most important numbers. It's kind of like simple almost in a way because it's about what makes us happy. It's so much more than that, but I think it's such a powerful number, but it's so simple because it just kind of is what it is. And it's a personal part of a person. It's a very personal part of a person. And it lets you know what they need to kind of restore themselves, to feel alive. It's the parts of themselves that they might not always bring when they're around others. If you're really connected to a person, like if you're really close to a person. So, a good friend, a spouse, someone you really connect to with dating, just there has to be that soul connection to reveal the essence of the soul number. You will see those traits within a person. So it's really fascinating because a person could exhibit things that, let's say, family members never get to see, coworkers never get to see, and you're with them 24/7 maybe, or even parents don't get to see, or other siblings because they don't know that part of a person. So it's an intimate part of a person sometimes that not other people know about. And the more introverted someone is, the more, let's say, mysterious or withheld someone is, withdrawn, the less likely they will share these parts of themselves. So the soul number is going to be that place where it's a part of ourselves, and we kind of make it a sanctuary even sometimes. We kind of make it these parts of ourselves where we breed our own happiness. And sometimes we don't know that it gives us happiness. We just know it makes us feel better. So it depends on how self-aware a person is with their own soul, with how they go about it. So let's get into the descriptions. Okay. So the soul number, if you are a soul 1, and we'll get into how to calculate the soul number, we will. Maybe we should do that first. I think I'm going to, on the flip side, do that first. So the soul number calculation is quite simple. It is, but it follows rules. Okay. So the simplicity is that you're going to take all the vowels in your name. It's the name that you go by. And we're going to talk about that. So it's just all the vowels in your name. And sometimes you're going to use the Y. Okay. So it's A-E-I-O-U and then Y. Now, if the Y is next to another vowel, it's considered a consonant. And there's certain rules in English that you should look up and Double check if you're not sure if your Y is a vowel or a consonant, because a Y could be either or, but you have to make sure that your Y is utilized as a vowel, because you're going to have to count it maybe if it shows up in your name. Okay, so heads up with that. So it's all the vowels in your name. Now, this is the part that always needs a little fine tuning. And this is the part that's not talked about in numerology as much. And so remember, I'm doing Western Pythagorean numerology. So that's if you're learning about that style. It is, I think, a philosophy too, what I'm going to say that might apply to other systems. So just heads up. When breaking down a name into numbers, because that's what you're doing. So in numerology, you are breaking down your birth date into numbers, or you're breaking down a name into numbers. And to get the soul number, you need to break down your name. So with your name, you have to go by your most current name, because your most current name represents how you use energy within the world, how you're walking within the world, how you're acting within the world. And so, thus, your soul and what it needs is going to be expressed by how you currently are in the world. And that's how it works with the name vibration. You have the power to have choice, you have the power to choose, you have the power to shift and become what you are within the world. And you can change that depending on how you change your name. So it's quite glorious, but since it's kind of mutable, you have to make sure that you're calculating it correctly. You have to make sure that you are taking your name, so not your middle name, just your first and your last name, how you are seen and how you identify within the world. So it's like how you sign things sometimes, how you consider your truest, most authentic identity. You know, some people have variations of their name: John, Jonathan, Johnny, right? Catherine, Kate, Katie, whatever. And people might call you multiple things. And so, what is your most authentic self? And what is your first and last name within that? Some people have work names, some people have family names that are very, very prominent. And they're like, this is me in this setting, and this is me in that setting. So, again, figure out what you're calculating for. Are you calculating for your energy at work? Are you calculating for your energy at home? Um, these are all very, very important considerations. You have to be calculating for identity with the name. Okay, that is very, very important. And when we are dealing with our name numbers on a large basis, we are considering, again, the current energy. In numerology, if you want to look at other things like origin energy and how it supports your life path and timelines, you will look at other names maybe you've had in the past. You will look at your middle name. So there are contexts where other names and your middle name is absolutely looked at, your full name at birth, absolutely. So I don't want to discount that, because that's actually very important. But when you're getting your fundamental numbers for the currents, it's very important to talk about, it's an identity thing. So you have to go with your current. All right. So first name and last name, you're going to find the vowels within your name, and you are going to calculate your soul number just by the vowels within the name. Remember the Y rule. And once you have found it, you're going to add it up and reduce it to a single number. So if you have a 28, 2 plus 8 becomes a 1. If you have a 33, 3 plus 3 is a 6. If it's a repeating number like that 33, right? Or the 22, if you get it, etc., and so forth, you are going to look at the repeating number. So that's that 33 or that 22 as example that we're doing right now. And if it's the 33, you're going to look at the 3 and the 6 for your some of your definitions with how your soul works. If it's the 22, you're going to be, because 2 plus 2 is 4. You're going to be looking at the 2 and the 4. So that's why master numbers are taken seriously, because you are going to be paying attention to not just the single digit, you're going to be paying attention to the repeating number as well. So hopefully that covers all the bases with how to calculate the number and how to pay attention to it when it does surface. because you really got to, you know, adhere to that rule with identity with the name numbers. And then let's get into the definitions. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, Delic. Hello. And now, yes, starting with soul one. So, soul one, if somebody has a soul vibration of one, or I've heard like soul urge two, soul urge of one, they are going to be very driven to succeed. They are going to want to be the best in whatever they're putting their mind to. So, like, number one is standout energy. Number one is leadership energy. It's very, I have a uniqueness about me. I need to set forth. They like to listen to their own advice. They don't like to take other people's advice because they just feel so sure of themselves. So the one is very self motivated, self contained energy, and it can get a lot done if it's in a very positive placement. And within the soul um, number, it creates this driving force where this person kind of just they don't get knocked down as easy as the other numbers. And they have, again, this relentless beat to them where, okay, I want to figure this out, or I want to do this, or I'm going to try this, and this is going to lead me to where I need to go. So they're always kind of conspiring to be the best parts of themselves. And like I said, one is a very self motivating number. So ones don't get distracted the same ways as other ones do. So not everyone might again understand them because the soul number is a very deep part of a person. So on the surface, someone might go like, "Oh, well, they're wow, they're determined, but I don't know why." Or, "Yeah, they seem like they want to build a career." Or, um, when they really put their mind to something. But really, it's because they want to define and build the self, and they feel like all this motivation to be the best. And it can be a quality thing, it can be an ego thing, it can be I need to do this because it's not no one else is doing this. You know, self accomplishment or world betterment thing. It could be a lot of different things, and it's depending on their other numbers. But that one vibration makes sure they keep going. It's like the Energizer Bunny. But again, right? They'll know it, but not necessarily other people around them will know it unless they share what they're being motivated towards. What they share, they just keep going to town with. Okay. Um, soul urge. Hello, Jennifer. The soul urge of two. All right. So when someone is a soul two, they are just very, very sensitive. So two is a number of sensitivity. It really, really is an empathy. And certain placements of that two make it much stronger, definitely. And the soul placement is one of those numbers. When you're a soul two, you just kind of know things on an easier level. And it's just such a deep part of you. You kind of go like, oof, this is me. This is how I operate. I kind of can't really overthink this one. So I'm more in tune with my gut instinct. And I'm more in tune with the fact that it has saved me from things. So sometimes when people have twos in certain placements, it's kind of like a more of a mental, like, oh, I'm feeling this and I'm sensing this, and yikes. But when it's like your soul number, it's kind of just like a part of your instinct on a just another level. And they find that they really trust what information is coming their way. They really trust how people feel, what situations they put themselves into. They go, I don't know, there's just something about this, or there's something about this. And they really become much more feel centered people. They just can't help it. And they really do utilize these skills in everything that they do. It's a part of them. So I find when I come a lot around a lot of soul to people, they do acknowledge spirituality and intuition, God, or like religion. They acknowledge a higher part of life because they understand that there's a force at work that is very different than how most people make their decisions. So they're like, ah, there's something more to that. There's something more to this world. And I'm kind of humble by, the signs that I get sometimes. So twos, it's a blessing to have a soul too, because your instincts are very, very, very on the money. Um, and you do have that guidance system or that guiding force. It's just how much are you leaning into it? Okay. Um, then we will jump to soul three. Okay. When someone is a soul three, they have this energy about them that's kind of childlike because they love having a good time. Like it's a driving force of who they are. They need to have time to recharge with fun. Like fun is their battery. Entertainment and creativity, it's like part of their life force. It's what revitalizes them. So they need things that stir that up, like music, movies, something funny. And they're not very always conventional with how they find their creativity because, they're like, oh, this is great. As long as there's something wonderful about it, I can laugh at it or I'll watch it. So, again, they're like they have this childlike appreciation for things. So, you could have a grown adult watching kid shows sometimes because they're like, "Oh, this is actually pretty funny. It has to be good now." But they're like, "Oh, there's something to it, I see it. I see the silver lining in this. The animation is just fantastic, right?" That could be why they're watching it. That's what attracted them to it because there's something fascinating. But at the end of the day, so if someone doesn't have that recharge, with how they have the wonderment within the world, they'll get kind of grumpy, irritated. They will feel zapped. They will feel like they don't have motivation. So if you have a soul three, it's really important that you play. You work, but then you play and you have outlets to play. And sometimes threes play more than they work because that's what makes their soul happy. But you just have to make sure that you have it. Okay. And it's part of your physical health as well as it is your mental health to have that space. Other numbers don't need it as much. A soul three needs to play, to recharge and be creative and laugh or dream, right? Through movies, TV, whatever, to feel like themselves. Okay. So with the soul, as I'm talking so far, you can understand the soul is how we connect to ourselves and others and how we operate. But it's also what we need to be happy. Okay. So with some of the definitions, I'll bounce from, different aspects of the soul and not just describing everything about the soul for number to number. But that's how I am going about it with descriptions. If you have a question, pop it down. So we're gonna be jumping to four, soul four. If you have a soul four, you are going to be somebody that really loves consistency. On a fundamental basis, you love things that are planned out and organized, and you feel it's what gives you your edge with whatever you need to do. You're like, as long as things are in place and as long as we have an understanding of what we're doing with our intention, things can be created. Things can be created, things can be done, and we can go forth and make the money. We can go forth and just get whatever we need to get. So it's a very productive number. These people can be highly productive. And what makes them happy is having like the plan and the premeditation to that plan. And what makes them happy too as well is gaining the skills and the knowledge to make sure that plan goes as best as it can. So four is a number of knowledge too, and it's about learning. It's about absorbing information. It's about reading. It's about research. It's about understanding different types of information and going, that's so cool. That's so cool. That's the way the world works. Okay. And so you can build a better product. You can build a better dream. You can build a better intention, whatever you're working on. And so the soul four just wants to be productive. It wants to be in high functioning gear. It realizes that, Rome wasn't built in a day. So it derives a lot of, the soul expression derives a lot of pleasure of, okay, I'm going to work hard and I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to find what I need to find to create something wonderful. And the process of the creating, the process of the building is just as like rich as the final product sometimes for these individuals. They love the building, okay? That's why the four is like, four sides, square, foundation. A lot of times four deals with like architecture, and the physical, with some of what the vibration means at its essence. So people love the design as much as the finished product. Okay. So as long as you are structured within your life with what you are building within your dreams, again, you can do so many project completions, probably more than your average person, as long as the soul is focused. And that would give you immense happiness being so productive. And usually these people are quite successful too. Okay. So the soul of five. Hello. Hello. Hey. Hey, everybody coming in. One, I think that's right, One. I'm always learning how to say people's names correctly, but I want to tell you hello. Um, and we are to the five. So a soul five, it will give people the drive for freedom. It will give people this thirst for adventure. Okay, what makes them happiest is when they're traveling. What makes them happiest is when they're doing something spontaneous, when they are just riding life just by pure inspiration. They will feel like just this burst of vitality, like I feel alive. I feel like electricity is coursing through my veins. I'm not sure, you know, I just booked my ticket and I don't know all my travel accommodations. Let's kind of see what happens. And especially if they have more fives within their chart, they would love that. They would love it. Now you can't, like live your life in disarray. I get it, but the five really, really thrives from uncertainty and randomness and adventure, and just seeing what happens and trusting their gut as they do it. So there is a compass amongst the chaos, but it's not a cerebral thing so much. It's not. So the soul loves the thirst of variety too in this placement. They don't settle down as easy unless there's other numbers that would temper their spontaneity. They want different experiences with people, with career, with friends. They want to make sure they're out and about meeting people, and they want to it's like, you go into Baskin Robbins and the 31 flavors. They want to taste all 31 flavors because they go, "Oh, that's why it's like that." And that's why it's like that. And they can't get to that conclusion from thinking about it. They can't get to that conclusion reading about it. They have to experience it, even if they, have been around the block and maybe their soul is like, I don't have to do this. They will go, oh, I get it on another level by actually physically being a part of the experience, because being in their body and having a sensory experience is so much more within the fives power than anything of listening, hearing, or reading. Okay. So If you have a soul of 5, you have to have adventure. And if you're not having adventure, you will feel really restless, really anxious, or even depressed because you need to be out exploring. All right. 6. We're on a 6. So when somebody has a soul urge of 6, they have this desire to look after others, to be a part of something where they are helping or changing something for the betterment of other people. 6 is the number of service. And so a lot of times people are very deeply fulfilled when they have families, or they're very deeply fulfilled when they have like a group environment that they can help cultivate or be a part of, because they're saying, this is a unit where, I have 5 or 6 of my friends coming together and we all support each other. We all help each other grow. We all help each other like laugh. We all look out for each other. And that is something so deeply satisfying within this person's soul because they long for connections like that and they long to create more of them. So if they don't have a rich family group or a rich friendship group, they will go out and be a part of different organizations where they can bring people together and serve others that have like a grand vision or like a wonderful way of being. And they go, I want to work towards helping to grow that. I want to put all my energy into that. um, but yeah, a lot of times I do, if someone has a soul 6, they will have a family because that's what they wanted. Like they wanted to mother or father within the family. They wanted to teach others and guide others in a way where they could nourish them and help lift them up. And so, yes, it's very, very important. 6 in community, family, community, friendships, super important for a 6. So you will find also extreme loyalty within 6s too as well. So you'll see individuals with the soul number placement again be a very devoted friend or family member, have their life really showcase that, or put their heart and soul into their job. If they have chosen something from their heart, it will just become so much about who they are, with how they serve and they give their time to. It's their driving force. And if they don't have that, they will feel lost. They will be searching for the right friend group, always searching for a way to have that outlet where they do feel like they have found a family if it's not conventional. That is the soul's mission. Okay, so we are jumping to 7. And I'm going to take a drink of my lovely tea. Okay, we are jumping to soul 7 now. And when someone has a soul of 7, what makes them happy is actually the main thing. Because remember, this is like a recharge as well. So some of these things are when you have a soul number, it's your happiness with what you do out in the world. And sometimes it's your happiness with what you do with yourself and how you can be supported by that with your choices or with your loved ones around you if they know this about you. Okay. So that soul number of 7, you will feel most happiest when you are one of 2 things, finding fundamental answers. So you're on a quest for truth. You're on a quest for finding answers and having aha moments and epiphanies. And you're like, that's why the world works like that. Or, that's why I do that. Or that's why they do that. And you are driven to learn more. And it just, knowledge turned into wisdom is what sets your heart on fire. And in order to do that, honestly, you have to have quiet, alone time and solitude. So what makes 7s naturally happy, and this is the part that people don't always like consider, is you need to give the 7s a lot of alone time. You need to have them in their ivory tower. You need to have them where they can start to process these things for themselves because they get so high off of it because they're able to see things that other people do not normally see, or they're able to find things that's not just out there in society or in books where they could read it. They are coming to unique conclusions through new methods usually. So they need that and they will go kind of mad and they'll get really anxious. And again, if every one of these soul numbers don't get what they need, they will start going anxious, crazy, anxious, depressed. They will, have bursts of anger, sadness, because they're not getting what they need to be themselves. They are not fulfilled with how they are living their life. It's again simple with what they can do for themselves, but very, very important, this number. Okay. So the seven, they need to have a partner, or they need to be, cohabiting in a space where they can have, like, let's say, a workroom that is undisturbed, or they are allowed to go in their bedroom, or they're allowed to go off somewhere that's supported by a partner or the entire rest of the family, where it's like mom, dad, whoever needs their alone space. It's Wednesday or it's that time again, depending on how much you need it, and you have that space. And as long as you have that space with yourself, you're actually pretty happy. So you have to carve and cultivate it within other people to give you that, support, and also to carve that boundary out for yourself. It's very, very important that people do not cross that boundary and you can have that for yourself. So, yeah, very important. I know there's some sevens that as long as there's quiet, so they can be around people, but as long as there's quiet and people aren't talking to them and they can be in their own thoughts, like they might be playing a video game or they might be watching a movie, and you could be sitting right next to them, like all up in their space, as long as they like you. But as long as they can concentrate on what they're doing, they're very happy. So they have to have their own space within their mind, the foremost. And as long as they have that, they will be okay. Okay. All right. I'm glad that you can relate to that, Delik. I'm glad. Yes, it's very true. It's very, very true. These numbers and how people need to be happy. Okay, so we're going into a soul urge of 8. So if someone has a soul urge of 8, they have this need to really progress their career, or this need to be working towards something that's really important, that they deem important. So 8 is a number of power. So they're wanting to cultivate what they feel is important and vital, and something that is a fundamental truth. Okay, so usually it's connected to career and gaining more flexibility and access to that power within career or within yourself, so you can further your career. Or in some special situations, it is um, you generate that for yourself, so it's very like self-contained with like entrepreneurship, or like within a personal discovery, right? So it's not always like conventional growth of career, but it's always um, the growth of power and the growth of manifesting truth. So I want you to think about it like that. But most people are very ambitious, and most people, in their downtime, they will be additionally working on things as long as they have energy, as long as they are healthy, because 8 deals a lot with health. And it's just like, what's the truth of what you're doing to yourself at, the cost of this power? You know what I mean? Um, as long as your health is in place and other important things are in place, the truth of maintaining yourself, if that is good, they will take every waking moment if they want to build on that project, to build on that dream, to build on making something better, especially if it gives them sometimes recognition or that next career advancement or that paycheck advancement. Because they're like, how can I accumulate my resources so I can continue to either help promote something if they are thinking on a bigger scale, not just for themselves. But if it is a smaller scale, how can I get that next paycheck, that recognition and promotion, so I can continue to grow within myself, so I can have more options because I know this is the route to do that. So it depends like where consciousness is at with the eight, and it depends on right how you are taking care of yourself as eight too, as well, with how much energy reserves you have as well as your other numbers. But really, work and the value of work and what value it can give to your life, um, and the power of that, that's the driving force of the eight. Okay. Hello, B. All right. So then we're to the soul nine. And so people who have soul nines, they want to help humanity. They get immense pleasure for sometimes overextending themselves. This is the right thing to do. Or, like I want to have a career that, has deeper meaning, that really not just solves the issues potentially, but like I'm right out there, in the trenches, or I'm doing the work of, what's good for the planet or what's good for humanity, or what's good for god or spirit. So there's these certain drivers within a soul nine where they're doing the mission because it's important and it's not something flashy. It's because it's the good decision. Okay. um, Sometimes if you see a soul nine in a flashy role, it's because they believe something in conjunction with why they have to be there. They're like, okay, if I have to be the face of something, or if I'm representing this or that, okay, there's a good reason I'm here. Okay. So they feel like this innate responsibility to do things that are of high integrity, and it gives them peace and satisfaction, and they can sleep really well at night doing that. When you have the soul urge numbers, sometimes you're in careers that are creative, conventionally, and other times you will always have a knack for seeing things in a different way, doing things unconventionally to get to the end of things. Like having an unconventional means to an end, and people will be like, "Oh, well, that was a clever way to do that," or this is why you are where you are because you're able to do things in a way that you know most people wouldn't, and the results are fantastic. So that nine is very creative or different, and it's usually praised within that as long as it's connected to something that fulfills the greater need. Okay. Hi, Myra. Okay, so these are all the numbers of the soul. And if you can think about it, when you felt most supported within life, by your friends, your family, your loved ones, they touched your soul. They touched these parts of yourself. And remember, within numerology, because numerology is a language of vibration, right? And it's decoding vibration at certain times in our life. So if you had a different name 5 years ago or 20 years ago when you were a kid or a different point in your life, you got to calculate for that point in your life because that's how you used your energy. And so think about if you can most recently because it's easier to do, but think about the people around you. Um, you know, who really touches your soul, and it's because they support you in some of these things. This is such an important part of how you use your energy, and this person goes, I can give that to you, or I just see you like that, or I know this about you. That's wonderful about you. That's great about you. I've always seen this characteristic in you, and I can relate. Or I don't have that, and you give me hope, and I want to make sure that you fly. Whatever it is with how they connect to you, they connect with you, and they make you feel like you're seen and you're heard and you're understood, whether it's in communication, the way that they support you with words unspoken, or with what they just know about you. These are very, very important numbers, within relationships, to feel like you are truly loved and that you have a deeper connection with somebody. So, in compatibility readings, if the soul number lines up, it's very good. It doesn't have to in order for that to be a slam dunk, but when it does, it sure as heck helps a lot, a lot, a lot. But you have to have other numbers in a person's chart that supports your soul. So you look for compatibility in the other numbers to see if they have that energy awareness, and they use their energy in the same way, where around you they would understand how to use your soul if they don't have a similar number lined up exactly for themselves. So I hope that makes sense. But yes, these numbers are very, very important to know about for ourselves, but also to know about with how other people line up with our own energy. Um, Someone's talking, when we say soul number, do we think we can consider soul as our soul family number or not? I'm asking because I'm wondering which soul numbers are good with each other or balancing. Okay. So, in compatibility numerology, you go into like cluster numbers, and that's a show that we'll cover, because it's a philosophy and application in itself. So you have to look at number clusters, because um, a two goes with a two, of course, but a two also goes with fours and eights most often. And why is that? We would get into that. So certain numbers work from a certain energy source, and so they have similar agendas. Um, and other numbers, again, work from a different energy source, excuse me. And so those numbers just naturally go together, very easily, and are in flow, because they're like, oh, like with the sevens, like, oh, you like the quest for truth. And the way, it's about the way you do it rather than the what. So it's like the way that you do it, you need a lot of alone time, you're self actualized, you need freedom to be yourself. Well, a 1, 5, and a 7 have those directives for the way that they utilize the energy. Okay. So, everyone's searching for truth. Everyone, let's say, wants a better life. And we all have careers, sometimes, that help us do those things, but it's the way we go about it. Because if someone is really fast within their energy, and another person's really slow within their energy, and there's all reasons of why you would do that, the fast person would be like, oh my God, I'm so bored. Like, I was there yesterday. And the four person, because let's say we do a five and a four. So the five is going to be the quick one, and the four person is going to be the slow one. The four person is like, I am so exasperated by the five because they're not doing things very efficiently, they're doing things recklessly. They're reckless. Or I do not like the five's energy because they've missed a lot and it's scattered. They might be getting things done, but it's scattered, and I have different standards, and I'm very frustrated. And the five in return would be like, I'm gonna be on to the next project while you're still on that one, and I'm gonna be in a different stratosphere, and you're still over there. Again, you know, this is not what I'm going for. So, completely different drivers, completely different ways of doing things. And that's where you see the clash, because they are not in the same place. If your energy is not in the same place, you're not connected. If your energy is not in the same place, um, it's like you could be standing right next to a person and they feel a million miles away, because they're using their energy differently and you're not able to come on the ride. And if you are able to, you're not going the same speed. And, think about it. Like, if you're skidooing with your loved one, like, you want to be going somewhat the same speed as them so you can enjoy the adventure together. Same with, like, if you're on a motorcycle, same if you're doing whatever, right? It's the metaphor of it, but it's very, very important. Um, so that's what you would look at. So you asked about the soul number and soul families, which I think are a great question. So anyone who utilizes the same energy as you can be considered a soul family. Possibly the soul family is a little bit different because there are people within our soul family that we are going to bump into lifetime to lifetime, or with greater frequency, because we're utilizing same the same lessons, but we might be doing it in a different way. So there actually could be people in our soul family that do have different numbers. Um, they will be around, but they won't be as close to us for that lifetime necessarily. So, you know, our soul family doesn't have to always be like, okay, we have, because some people talk about, oh, within our soul family there's 30 people that we incarnate with most times, and a lot of them are similar. Like, I've heard about that, and there's something to that. I'm not sure what that is completely, but there's something to that. We bump into, or we incarnate with a similar group of people. I don't know the number. I don't know if we have them for every lifetime, but we have them for a lot of lifetimes. I truly believe that, absolutely. Um, but sometimes that person in our soul group is going to be in our soul group and they are our friend for that lifetime. And then the next lifetime, they're our brother, or they're our grandpa, or they're, a spouse, right? They take on a different role. And if it's a spouse role with like longevity, you're gonna have more of the similar drivers, unless you're always at each other's throats. And that would showcase very differently. Okay. So it indicates harmonious relationships where you get along easily. Some people within our soul family we're not supposed to get along easily with. They're supposed to be teaching us lessons, and they've signed up for a certain service with us, per se. They signed up for a certain event to happen, and it doesn't have to be a harmonious event. We're supposed to learn in dichotomies with people. Like, something I like to talk about that's really important is, um think about like the worst relationships that you had that are like really toxic, and before they became toxic, you had like a special connection with the person. You're like, oh, they're special, or wow, I have great chemistry with them, or wow, I feel really drawn into them, or I feel like our souls are, really in sync. It could be a lot of different things. Well, that initial pull was so dynamic because you were supposed to experience a lesson with them. You were supposed to experience an event with them. And it was very strong because your soul was like, there's something here I have to experience. And when we have those like supercharger, I'm attracted to this situation or this person, on the other side, before we come in, when we're kind of mapping out our life, we go, hey, and it's usually somebody from our soul group who's like a really good friend or connection. Hey, when I incarnate on earth, I need to learn a lesson of forgiveness, or self trust, or self worth, or I need to know boundaries and how to say no. You're awesome. I trust you with my soul growth. Would you like to help make sure that I understand this lesson? And so you might have someone who's like, I'm telling you, like, a trusted confidant on the other side, or someone who's like a best friend, and they're like, sure, I'll break your heart open for you. Great. I would trust no one else to do this but you. It's going to hurt like heck, but you're the man or the woman to do it. Okay, I'll help you, right? And so you have situations like that. So again, um when we hit it off with somebody, and let's say it's positive and harmonious, yeah, it would be showcased within some of the numbers, absolutely. But our soul family, Um, they're there for a lot of different reasons, okay? If that makes sense. So it's not, our numbers aren't about if someone would be in our life. Our numbers are about if it's easy or difficult while they're in our life and if we operate from the same energy and to help navigate that. Okay? So cool. I'm glad that makes sense. And then another question, what's the relationship between the soul number and the life path number, if there's any? Great question again. Okay. So, yeah, they're different. The life path number is what it's like the sun sign in astrology. The life path number is like we can't deviate from our path. Okay. So we're constantly pulled on the path and we need to develop ourselves in those numbers. So, like, if you are a life path 2, it means that you will always kind of find yourself being a more sensitive person, like connected to others, wanting to learn about others, wanting to learn about your sensitivities, wanting to help others find peace within themselves, or for justice to be served where things are better functioning, where people aren't in distress or emotional discord because you're sensitive and you can feel those things and you want to rectify them. So, but being a life path too, you are those things and you're aware of those things, and your soul is on that path to go, okay, I want to learn how to resolute this, but I have to gain skills in this. So you have interests, but you realize you have to gain more skill to help be effective within the world and help be effective with how you are as a being. And so you are deficit in some of those skills, and you will also gain mastery in those skills because your awareness is on this path. Like, it can't be pulled from this. So that's the life path. It's basically, I am this, but I'm learning to become more of this. And since I'm learning to become more of this, I'm aware of times within my life where I wasn't this. So I'd like to fix that. And that's what your life is about. Okay. With the soul, your soul should be satisfied through your work. Yes, it doesn't mean it is. Not everyone it is. So when people come home from work, they need to make sure that they activate their soul. If they're not in a career, if they're not doing other things in their life that activates their soul, they need a pocket within their day or their week where their soul is activated for them to be healthy and in a state of um just positive function and being. They'll be miserable, right, if they can't activate certain energies within their soul. So again, like, people will go on like weekend vacations if they're like a 5, like a weekend adventure, try out different restaurants, drive a lot, right, go on a weekend getaway. That's the recharge. The one would be developing a skill, so they can improve themselves. They'll be, whether out and about or tucked away, just like, how can I get better at this? How can I get better at this? What's the next move, right? The 8 will be doing a version of that, but it's like, how can I get more money, or how can people see me in a more favorable light so I can further the agenda, right? The one just wants to be the best, just wants like the best finish time, the best results in the gym, or the best idea, with a new invention that is going to edge out the competition. Okay, if they're enacting that within their life and that's not within their work, then their soul is at peace. Okay, so that's where we're going. Let's see. I'm glad that makes sense. Are there any numerology books or book or books that you recommend? Yeah, I really love Glennis McCant's books. I've read some other numerology books, and sometimes I don't find them to be so consistent. And the ones that I really love are Glennis McCann's books. And that's where I learned a lot of my philosophy and teachings from. I read a lot before I got into her books too. So there are additional things, but Glennis McCants, and she has Glennis has your number, and the other one is Love by the Numbers. excellent, excellent books. Recommend them. And okay, we'll take one more question. The soul number of being 7. Okay, someone's asking, my soul number is 7, and this year we have the 7 energy as well. How is that affecting? Should we take our personal year number as a compass, or the personal, or the year number? So the personal year number or the year number. Okay, so she's asking about, in numerology, we have a personal number, personal year number. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. She's in numerology, you have a personal year number, and that changes every year. And that is by taking your attitude number plus the world year. Now, there's an overall personal year for the world, okay? And that's universal. And there could be personal years for countries, and it's just like, where do we pull what number is harmonious for us? I think that she's asking, and she's asking that her soul number, how do we pair things up? And to answer that, so a lot of times, if your life path number is the same as your personal year number, that's a harmonious sign. It means that the energy of the year will help support you to reach the next step with who you are as a soul. So, your life path number is all about how you're mastering your energy and you're mastering who you're becoming. And so, the personal year number, if it's the same as your life path number, will help you on that next level, and you will feel like a lot of growth that year. Okay. If it's the same as your soul number, yeah, absolutely. The soul number is more like an internal experience of what makes us happy. Okay. So it's more of sometimes a deeper understanding of the self. Okay. But the life path number, you're out and about with that energy, and your life is going to transform. So that is more influential. I hope that makes sense. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna just to close the show, we'll take some numbers really quickly, and we will go out on that. Um, Ona, you gave me your numbers, you popped them down. 8. Okay, so I'm gonna do it like that. Cool. So you have a life path 3, One, or is it Ane? I think it's Ane. Um, I'm always learning, so bear with me. Ane. So you are a life path 3, you are an attitude 2, and you're a personal day 3. Now, just based on your numbers within your birth date, it's apparent that you have a lot of 3 energy. So that means you will be most happiest around others. It's very important that you are a social individual within your career, and a social individual with how that you are living your overall life. When people have 3 energy, they thrive off of being entertaining in front of others, uplifting others. They have a naturally upbeat personality, life path 3s, and they want to fuel other people. And so there's this energy exchange of kind of like, okay, I'll give you energy, you give me energy. So it's very, very important to make sure that you are supporting a more extroverted life to help get that energy supply for yourself. Um, and bringing balance to your life if you do feel off kilter, where you're like, oh, I just need to recharge, and it's like, yeah, recharge, but you actually fill up the battery as long as you're healthy by going out and about too, because 3 needs to be seen, heard, and interacted with. It's the number of it's the number of communication you can't communicate with yourself. And with communication, the message needs to be heard to as many people as you can. And so you can't just be communicating with family or a small group of friends. The greatest fulfillment comes from the crowd, the variety of the crowd of those that you interact with and those that you can uplift. So you have an attitude 2 as well. So that means that, again, your nervous system is very sensitive. Um, and when people have attitude 2s, they're just they're natural psychics. They're very, if they want to be, They just have that from a young age, being very connected to people, being very aware of people. And the more that you develop that, the more that becomes a superpower. So you're in, again, I just see your numbers right away and I'm like, oh, you're in the right career. You're in the right career. Keep developing that career and keep making sure that you have this outlet and that you have a life that can actually allow you to build more, because that's where your happiness is, with providing people understanding about themselves because you're so energy sensitive, and doing it in a way where you are promoting the message for people to go, ah, I'm like this way because. So it is beautiful. I'm looking at your name too, and let's see. Yeah. So I don't know if your name is based on your career or if it's like your actual name, but just based on your name, you're a soul three. So the soul three showcases that, yeah, again, you have so many threes that are just promoting all these things that I'm saying to be utter importance. Now, your soul three is a little bit more personal with how you go about things, but we were talking earlier about this natural love for entertainment, this natural love for creativity and living your life, and putting those things within your life to make you bright and full. And so when you take your soul to the outside world, it's furthering what we talked about. But when you acknowledge your inside world, it's making sure that you're playing. It's making sure that you are having an outlet of music or a fantasy to make you go, ah, yes, I can dream again. Yes, life can be like this. Life can be like that. Like through the lens of movies or the lens of other creativity, you go, oh, my life can be beautiful like that. And it gives you drive to continue to go out and create and have more. So, very, very important that you play like a child. Very, very important that you laugh and you're goofy and you have your alone time with so much media supporting it, because that's what makes you thrive. Okay. I'm gonna take one more quick number before I close the show. Let's see. Someone pop down your numbers because I always do too. We'll talk about the soul urge of 7 a little bit more if needed. Okay. So we'll do that. So with the soul urge of 7, um, 7 is mysterious energy, okay? It needs to observe. It needs to figure out before it shares, okay? So I'll say that. Anytime you have 7 in important placements, don't push yourself to get out into the mix of things. Allow yourself to kind of be reserved and hold back and understand first before you speak. And you want that within other people too as well. Within your soul, you will feel deeply understood by people who don't try to push you with communication, who give you space with your thoughts so you can speak, um, that don't ask for too much from you, that are gentle with the way that you communicate and are gentle with the way of how you choose to share. Okay, someone just popped down their birth date. And 12. Okay, so a personal day of 1, an attitude of 4, and then we have the life path of 6, if that is correct. Let me just double check that. Attitude 4, and then the life path of everyone's popping down their birthday now. I appreciate that. It takes a moment sometimes when we go, hey, readings. Okay, yeah, that's right. So life path 6. Okay. So with B, your life path is 6. So it's important to feel fulfilled, that you are in service to somebody or a company, or a group, whatever you are within your life where you're putting your time and energy into. It's important that you feel good for the mission that they're a part of. You feel like you respect your boss and that your boss respects you, because As long as you have that in place, because sixes want to contribute, sixes want to put their heart and soul into the things that they're a part of. As long as you have appreciation and you have a good leader that you are putting your blood, sweat, and tears into, or an organization that does that, it refuels your energy where you go, oh, all this work, it's for something, it's for someone. I'm renewed again, and you feel so alive. And I know that sounds so simple, but it's true. The other numbers would not recharge like that. The six goes, my hard work means something, and it makes me feel so happy. It makes me feel so of service. Okay. So that's important. And also, it shows tremendous devotion of family and friends, tremendous generosity. And again, as long as you have your friends and family feeling like they are in appreciation of you, I'm telling you, it's simple, but it's so healing for you. You have a personal day of one, and so I feel like you have 4, 1, and 6, and those are very strong numbers. So you're a strong personality. When you speak, people listen. And if you want, you can make waves. So it's just like, well, don't play small, B. What would you like to do? Because people will listen. You got that sturdy 4 to make sure it gets done along with that 6, and you got that 1 where people are going to listen to you, and they're going to just sometimes be quiet and see what you have to say. So you can make some waves and you can get a lot done. Use that power. What do you want to do? And that's what I'm going to say to you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody, we are going to be having the psychic hour at 1 p.m. It's coming up. I will see you very soon. With the numerology hour, please know that with the numbers, heart is always in the equation, and away we go. With that said, please go with love, luck, light, and don't forget to live. See you next week for the numerology hour. See you in a moment for the psychic hour. Take care.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.